Florida. A land of sun, sand, and opportunity. Fort Lauderdale, a city where wealth and power meet, where success stories are written, and fortunes are made overnight. And here, in the very heart of it, one man rose from humble beginnings to become one of the most influential and wealthy figures the city had ever known. His name was Scott Rothstein. Scott was no ordinary lawyer. To his colleagues, he was a powerhouse. To his clients, he was their trusted advisor. And to the world, he seemed like a man who'd achieved the American dream. But this was no dream. It was a mirage. And behind the glitz and glamour, Scott Rothstein was hiding a billion-dollar lie. Scott Rothstein didn't come from wealth. Growing up in the working-class neighborhoods of New York, he learned quickly that hard work was the only path to success. Driven and intelligent, he pushed himself, eventually landing a spot in law school. And when he graduated, he was ready to take on the world. In South Florida, Rothstein saw more than just opportunity. He saw a chance to build an empire. He joined forces with a partner and founded Rothstein Rosenfeld Adler, a law firm that would quickly grow to be one of the largest in Fort Lauderdale. But Scott didn't just want to practice law. He wanted to live like the elite, to drive the best cars, live in the best homes, and be the man everyone turned to. Soon, Scott Rothstein became more than just a lawyer. He was a fixture in Fort Lauderdale's high society. He attended every charity event, donated millions to causes he claimed to care about, and made sure he was seen with the most powerful people in the state. Politicians, celebrities, business moguls, all counted Rothstein as one of their own. But Scott's reputation wasn't just built on donations and handshakes. His law firm was expanding at a rapid pace, and he was bringing in clients by the dozen. Everyone wanted to work with Scott Rothstein, the man who made things happen. And it was this reputation that would allow him to pull off one of the biggest Ponzi schemes in U.S. history. In the early 2000s, Rothstein's law firm wasn't just a place of legal work. It was the headquarters of his massive Ponzi scheme. Here's how it worked. Rothstein would approach wealthy investors, offering them the chance to buy into what he called structured settlements. He claimed these settlements were tied to real, high-stakes lawsuits that had already been won, and he promised investors outrageous returns, sometimes up to 20% or more. Rothstein assured these investors that they were essentially buying settlements, set to be paid out over time. It was a brilliant con, using real court documents, forged bank statements, and fake checks. He convinced people that the money was real. And because his investors trusted him, believing him to be the high-powered lawyer they'd come to know, they didn't question it. He even arranged inspection days where investors could review fake documents that seemed legitimate. It was all part of the illusion, a carefully crafted show designed to keep the money flowing. With millions of dollars pouring in, Rothstein lived a life most could only imagine. He bought luxury cars, yachts, a private jet, and multiple properties. He wore designer suits, had a lavish office decorated with marble and fine art, and threw extravagant parties that became legendary in Fort Lauderdale. It was a life of excess, all funded by deception. Rothstein's law firm was just a front, a mechanism to draw in more investors and more money. And the people of Fort Lauderdale, friends, clients, and fellow lawyers, had no idea they were all part of the biggest lie of Rothstein's life. For years, Rothstein's scheme ran smoothly. But in 2009, the cracks started to show. As the global economy began to falter, investors grew nervous, requesting to pull their money out. Rothstein was running out of new investors to pay the old ones, and he started to scramble to keep up the facade. It wasn't long before people noticed something was wrong. One of Rothstein's investors, suspicious of delays and inconsistencies in payments, began looking closer at the settlements Rothstein had sold them. And what they found was shocking. These settlements didn't exist. It was only a matter of time before federal authorities were alerted, and an investigation into Rothstein's law firm was underway. Knowing his time was up, Rothstein fled to Morocco, a country he believed had no extradition treaty with the United States. But as the investigation grew, his plan unraveled quickly. Rothstein had left too many people scammed, too many red flags that couldn't be ignored. On November 3, 2009, after receiving multiple texts from Stuart Rosenfeld, the president of his firm, urging him to choose life, Rothstein finally made the decision to return to Fort Lauderdale. He arrived on a chartered jet from Casablanca, prepared to face the fallout. The FBI caught up with him, and Rothstein was brought back to face justice. In the weeks that followed, the truth was laid bare. Scott Rothstein had run a Ponzi scheme worth $1.2 billion, making it one of the largest in U.S. history. In court, Rothstein confessed to everything, implicating others he claimed were involved, though many argued he was merely trying to reduce his sentence. But his cooperation wasn't enough to save him. Scott Rothstein was sentenced to 50 years in federal prison, a sharp fall from the life of luxury he had built on lies. As his sentence was read, the realization sank in: Rothstein's empire had crumbled, and he would spend the rest of his life behind bars. The fallout from Rothstein's scheme was devastating. His law firm dissolved, leaving clients without representation and employees without jobs. Many of his former clients lost their life savings, businesses were shattered, and his victims were left trying to pick up the pieces. But the impact didn't end with Rothstein's arrest. Fort Lauderdale's business and legal communities were forced to reevaluate everything. His scheme changed how lawyers and investment firms were scrutinized, pushing for tighter regulations and closer monitoring of investment schemes. Scott Rothstein's story is a stark reminder of the consequences of unchecked ambition. He had it all: money, power, influence. But at every step, he made choices that would not only ruin him but also the lives of countless others. And so, in the end, Rothstein's legacy is not the success he so desperately chased, but the ruin he left behind. This is the story of a man who tried to have it all, and lost everything in the process. If you found this story fascinating, make sure to like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon.